My husband is a great man. He secretly took my medical records for matching, just for his dying lover. Since you two have matched successfully, helping her is understandable. She loves me so much, she will definitely agree. I paused with my hand on the door of the ward. The next day, the divorce agreement was delivered to his office. I thought that even if it's not love, but Vincent at least likes me. After all, he has been protecting me since childhood, willing to marry me when he grew up, and even treated me well after marriage. So I never dreamed that Vincent would look at Jasmine, who was dying on the hospital bed, and say to me, "Shirley, after all, she is your cousin. Since you two have matched successfully, it's understandable for you to help her." After rejecting my uncle and aunt several times, Vincent became the one persuading me to donate my kidney. My partner, wanting me to donate my kidney. I felt like I had been hit on the head, momentarily stunned, trembling all over. "When did you match me and her?" Vincent looked a little guilty, turned his head aside, afraid to look at me. Under my urgent questioning, he slowly said, "Last time, I told you to get a checkup for pregnancy, so..." My breath faltered, my body weakened, I almost couldn't stand. Vincent, however, couldn't see what was wrong with me, just kept changing the subject, holding Jasmine's hand lovingly, and continued to persuade, "Yes, Shirley, haven't you always told me you want a child? As long as you donate your kidney to her, I will promise you to have a child, is that okay?" Jasmine started coughing frantically, her pale face flushing with excitement. She weakly said, "Forget it, Vincent, although humans have 2 kidneys and losing one will not have a big impact, it is still one of the body's organs." Jasmine sighed pitifully, "It's my bad luck. Can't blame Shirley, even though she is my cousin, but we can't morally blackmail her." "Jasmine, you always think of others in everything and often overlook yourself." Vincent sighed, looking at me with a cold and impatient look. "Shirley, when will you be able to consider others first like Jasmine?" "Yeah," Aunt couldn't help but interrupt. "Shirley, look at how pitiful Jasmine is, watching her very life slipping away. Can you stop being so selfish? Whatever you wanted, Vincent has agreed to give you. What more do you want?" They were like voracious beasts, wanting to devour me alive, and I stood by the cliff. A slight misstep would plunge me into hell. I could hardly hear what they were all saying, just seeing their mouths opening and closing, wanting to tear me apart alive. I thought Vincent was the only support I had in this world, but it turns out I have been alone from start to finish. I couldn't help but shudder. Vincent finally noticed, came over, and touched my forehead. "Shirley, do you have a fever? Have you taken any medicine?" But the original care now seemed so ridiculous. I couldn't help it anymore. I opened his hand, turned around and ran out. I knew Vincent had a crush on Jasmine, but that was a long time ago. I thought he had forgotten about her, and at least had some feelings for me. The 3 of us were considered childhood sweethearts, growing up together. After my parents died in a car accident, I was adopted by my aunt and uncle and lived in Jasmine's house. Just because I was underage at the time, the inheritance left by my parents all fell into the pockets of my uncle and aunt, claiming to temporarily hold it for me. But within a month, they moved to the villa area to live next to Vincent's family. I didn't live well, and Vincent was a warm light in my pitiful life. He never forgot to share anything delicious or fun with me. When I was scolded as an orphan that nobody wanted, he stood in front of me to protect me, and later beat those kids who scolded me black and blue. When I was locked in the gym by classmates, crying in fear, he opened the gym door for me and even rode his bike to send me home. I sat on the back seat, holding onto the back railing tightly. Vincent's warm hand held mine, and I sat on his waist. I said, "My hands are dirty." "It's okay," Vincent replied gently. "I'm wearing black clothes today." The flickering light from the street lamps at night. I held onto his clothes tightly, leaned in his direction, and smelled a familiar scent of soap. This scent, I remembered for years since that night. Vincent had changed the scent of shower gel countless times, but I still used that old bar of soap. After getting married, Vincent asked me, "What shower gel do you use? Why is the scent so familiar?" I suddenly realized that I was the only one who remembered that night. But it didn't matter. I have been deceiving myself in this unbearable marriage, telling myself that the past is not important, as long as Vincent's future belongs to me. In high school, Vincent and Jasmine had a short-lived romance, but it ended quickly. Jasmine went abroad after graduation, and Vincent was single throughout his 4 years of college. I was always by his side, and classmates teased me as his backup. Too shy to speak up, and he never denied it. Funny thing is, I always thought that he had some feelings for me. After graduation, I proposed to him, and he actually agreed. I thought that the beautiful future belonging to him and me was finally about to begin. But when Jasmine came back, everything went back to square one. I was still the unwanted child, Even Vincent didn't want me. Vincent didn't come back for a night, and I in the bedroom, smelling the familiar scent of soap, let loneliness swallow me whole. Early the next morning, I was rudely awakened by a barrage of phone calls from my uncle and aunt, demanding to know why I hadn't delivered food to them yet. We've raised you all these years, fed you for so long, and now you can't even be bothered to bring us food. Stop slacking off. Get over here now. My aunt scolded over the phone. So, despite my exhaustion, I hurriedly took a taxi to the hospital, bought food downstairs, and carried it up. It was just a matter of going downstairs to buy food, but they insisted I make the trip to assert their authority. Jasmine's condition had improved slightly from the day before. She was able to sit up halfway. Due to chemotherapy, she had shaved her head, but her perfect face still looked beautiful. As soon as I set the food down, Vincent walked in. When I saw him, I dropped the spoon in my hand in surprise. Did I startle you? Jasmine chuckled. I told him not to accompany me, but he insisted. Do I look that bad? Vincent had also shaved his head. I remember, his most precious possession was his hair. Once, after washing his hair, I tried to help him blow dry it, only to be scolded by him for touching his hair. He didn't like anyone touching his hair. Even when it came to cutting his hair, he learned how to do it himself at home. But now, for Jasmine's sake, he had shaved off all his precious hair. Where's the ugliness? Vincent playfully pointed to Jasmine's nose, teasing her. I did a good deed, but someone here has no appreciation, calling me ugly. Silently scooping up the hot porridge, I noticed my hands trembling uncontrollably. Their intimate banter was loud in my ears, as if I was the outsider. The nurse who came to give Jasmine an IV remarked, Jasmine, you and your husband have such a good relationship. The bowl of porridge in my hands finally spilled, the porcelain pieces scattered on the floor. As I crouched down to pick them up, the sharp edges cut my finger, causing me to gasp. Are you okay? Finally, Vincent diverted some attention to me, crouching down to hold my hand and chiding. Why are you still so careless? I'm fine. I casually wiped the blood on my clothes, stood up, and said, Miss, you've misunderstood something. This gentleman is my husband. Jasmine's face froze slightly. The nurse felt awkward. I continued, Jasmine is my cousin, and this gentleman is Jasmine's brother-in-law. Sorry about that. The nurse hastily made up an excuse and fled, saying, I need to go check on something. No one spoke in the room anymore, the atmosphere suddenly becoming awkward. Jasmine explained, Sorry, Shirley, this is how I've always interacted with Vincent. We're used to it. After all, we're siblings. You don't mind, do you? I let out a bitter laugh, threw the spoon to Vincent, and left the room. The wound was quite large, and the fresh blood never stopped. I turned on the faucet, the icy tap water suppressing the scalding temperature of the blood somewhat, but the sink quickly turned a bright red. You're just using water. A hand suddenly reached out, grabbing my arm and pulling it out. An unexpected face appeared before my eyes. It was Jack. He could be considered an old classmate since we were in the same class in elementary, middle, and high school, and even attended the same university. But after I got married, I hadn't seen him since. Jack forcibly took me to the doctor to apply medicine to the wound. He was looking down, and his hair swirls at the top were right at eye level. I felt a bit uncomfortable, because I could smell the familiar scent of soap on Jack. He used the same old brand too. I was surprised. He seemed different from before, more gentle. As he applied the band-aid, he asked, Why are you at the hospital? Are you sick? No. I shook my head. Jasmine is sick. Jack furrowed his brow. That little tramp. He was starting to resemble the Jack I knew before. His tongue was extremely sharp, always mocking people he met, especially me. How did you get this wound? Jack finished applying the band-aid and even drew a smiley face on it with a ballpoint pen. I quickly pulled my hand back. It's nothing. Just accidentally touched the broken bowl. Which room is Jasmine in? I'll go with you to see her and check her condition. It's been years since I last saw her, Jack offered. After all, he was an old classmate, so I couldn't refuse when Jack said that, and had to take him with me. But I didn't expect to run into my aunt coming over at that moment. This is terrible. Why is she running a fever again? How much longer can she live? Shirley, you finally came. Can't you see she's dying and help her? She's your sister, after all. And besides, our family has raised you for so many years. Isn't it reasonable for you to donate a kidney to us? My aunt wailed, rushing toward me, ready to pound on my chest. Jack reacted quickly, pulling me away, and standing in front of me, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. Donate a kidney? Are you crazy? I instinctively grabbed onto Jack's clothes, a wave of indescribable emotions sweeping over me. Never did I imagine that the one to utter these words wasn't my biological uncle, or my husband, Vincent, but Jack. Shirley, this is a family matter. Why let outsiders meddle? Vincent's face darkened considerably upon seeing Jack. The two of them had never quite seen eye to eye. They used to frequently clash over the years, maintaining a superficial peace only for the sake of their mutual acquaintances. But as far as I knew, they hadn't been in contact for a long time. Seeing Jack standing in front of me, Vincent reached out to pull me. "Shirley, listen to me. Donating a kidney is not a big deal." Jack was stunned. "Do you even know who you are?" "What?" Vincent was taken aback. "You are Shirley's husband, and you actually persuaded her to donate a kidney to another woman. Who is this woman to you?" "Your mistress." Jack's tongue was as sharp as ever, cursing so viciously that Vincent's face turned red and then white. Jasmine was so angry that she immediately sat up. "Vincent and I are more like siblings than siblings. How could you defame the pure friendship between us?" "Pure sibling friendship," Jack sneered. "First friends, then siblings, and finally lovers. Huh. Are you two about to take that next step to lovers after donating a kidney?" "You?" Vincent was red-faced from Jack's scolding, finally unable to contain himself, and threw a punch at Jack's face. Auntie wailed on the side. "How come everyone can meddle in this? Shirley, do you have any conscience left? Your parents died early in a car accident, leaving you an orphan. We kindly brought you into our home, provided food, clothing, and shelter for you, gave you the best of everything. And now you have no conscience. You have absolutely no conscience." The scene was chaotic, and my head was about to explode. Watching Vincent and Jack starting to fight, all the patience finally broke through prison at that moment and poured out frantically. I erupted with the biggest roar of my life. "Enough." Everyone abruptly stopped and stared stiffly at me. I pointed at my aunt, words sharp as whips. "Why did you adopt me in the first place? Don't you know it in your heart? The hefty compensation that my parents left for me is still in your hands, and you refuse to give it to me." Onlookers had gathered around, intent on watching this drama unfold. "You said I was a minor and it would be best to temporarily entrust it to you. But in reality, it was just a cover-up for your greed. After adopting me and receiving the compensation, you immediately changed houses and bought a BMW, living the life of the privileged." I was trembling with anger, finally venting out all the pain from these years. "Not once have I been able to eat a full meal with the compensation my parents left me. All the household chores that could have been done by hiring help were all piled on me alone. In the cold winter, I ate stale steamed buns, washed the family's clothes with bone-chilling cold water, and now, you have the audacity to say you provide for my food and clothing, want me to understand gratitude and help your own daughter by donating a kidney." My aunt's face was a fluctuating mix of green and white from my scolding, still trying to justify herself. "Don't talk nonsense. When have I ever made you go hungry? There was once, we cooked a big pig elbow and you were the only one who ate it." "Yes," I sneered, "overly greasy. After just 2 bites, you couldn't eat anymore. You forced me to eat that big pig elbow for 3 days, saying it shouldn't go to waste, and it gave me an upset stomach for half a month." I wiped away the tears fiercely, speaking slowly and distinctly. I saw her fall ill. It was a deserved punishment. "Shirley, how can you say such things?" Vincent, holding his swollen face, softened his tone a bit, but still tried to reason. "No matter what, she is still your cousin." "Vincent," I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and when I looked back at him, there was no emotion on my face, as if all that was between us was like clouds in the wind, dissipating in an instant. I smiled lightly, looked at him sorrowfully, and finally said, "Let's get a divorce." Vincent was stunned, and then instinctively said, "Are you kidding?" Vincent seemed a bit panicked, grabbing my arm, causing me to frown slightly in pain. "I know you're not in a good mood right now, throwing a tantrum. Let's not discuss this now, let's talk about it later." "No," I decisively shook my head. "Vincent, I have thought about it carefully, and this is the result of my thinking. Let's get a divorce. Property division. I'll just take what belongs to me, and the rest is yours. My request is simple, a divorce." I shrugged off his hand, not looking at his changing expression, closed my eyes wearily, and said, "I'm tired. I don't want to continue entangled with this, or keep waiting. I think I was wrong from the very beginning, waiting for a ship at the airport. How could I have waited for it?" "I don't agree." Vincent saw my determination, and finally dropped his smile, his tone turning cold. "You proposed the marriage, and now the divorce. Is it really that easy?" After he finished speaking, he tried to grab me again, but Jack stepped in front of me, shielding me. Was it because of him? Vincent's attention was diverted. He quickly turned his gaze to Jack, darkly asking, "When did you start getting involved with him?" "I always knew your relationship wasn't simple. Or was it that ever since we got married, you two have been in contact? Are you planning to marry him as soon as we divorce?" Vincent pressed on, gasping for air. I lost my composure, and replied directly, think whatever you want. I will draft the divorce agreement as soon as possible and send it to your house. I will also move out my stuff quickly. You can rest assured. I will not take anything that doesn't belong to me. I don't want to continue this entanglement, I whispered, clutching Jack's sleeve. I'm sorry, do you have a car? Can you take me away from here? Jack glared at Vincent harshly, and I couldn't help but feel that his expression softened a bit when he looked back at me. All right, he said. I deliberately chose a time when Vincent was not at home to move my things out. I called a moving company, thinking I would need their help, but after everything was packed, I realized that after living here for so many years, the things that truly belonged to me were few. Jack invited me to dinner that night. I told him I was moving things, so he hurriedly came over without stopping. I didn't expect to run into Vincent in the elevator. Vincent rushed in ahead of Jack and closed the door behind him. Shirley, you've got guts, Vincent said with a dark face. The divorce isn't finalized yet, and you've already invited another man home. Have you been fooling around with him for a while? Couldn't get pregnant with me, so you found a man outside to get pregnant with. His words made my hands tremble with anger, and I slowed down in folding clothes. Vincent didn't let up. He grabbed my hand and pulled hard. My body involuntarily leaned towards him, and the unfamiliar scent of his cologne instantly engulfed me, almost suffocating me. Can't say anything, right? Vincent's hand seemed to tighten on my neck, his eyes slightly red, but I knew he wasn't sad. It was probably possessiveness at play. He must be unable to comprehend how a person who had once loved him so much, ran after him for everything without a shred of self-respect, could suddenly decide to divorce him overnight. Though he didn't use much force, I still felt like I couldn't breathe. It was a suffocating feeling psychologically, making me feel suffocated for my pitiful life for over a decade. My face gradually turned pale, and Vincent finally noticed, quickly letting go of my hand. Shirley, what's wrong? Are you okay? I leaned against the wall, silent for a while. I didn't mean to. Vincent anxiously held my hand. I just don't want to divorce you. I finally recovered, raised my eyes slightly, and looked at him coldly. Vincent seemed to be taken aback by the way I looked at him, a look I had never given him before. Don't look at me like that. Vincent stepped back in annoyance. Don't want to divorce me, I sneered. Vincent, do you not want to divorce me? Or do you not want to lose this kidney of mine on you? How can you say that? Vincent's face darkened slightly. No matter what, Shirley is your cousin, not to mention, they has taken care of you for so many years. If it wasn't for them, you would have long become a beggar on the street. I might have been better off. I chuckled. Vincent, do you think I would keep a kidney just to endure the scolding from them, and beg for the love you wouldn't even give me? You? Vincent's face completely darkened. You got involved with Jack because of... I couldn't hold back anymore and slapped Vincent hard across the face. Clutching my slightly numb hand, I said slowly, you don't deserve to put those words together with him. I'll say it one last time, in this marriage, I have a clear conscience and have never done anything to hurt you. I said slowly, as for you, you know what happened between you and Jasmine. I don't need to say more, right? Vincent never expected to be slapped by me. He looked at me in disbelief, shocked, and even horrified, as if he was about to pounce on me the next second. I was a little scared too. After all, there were only the two of us here. But fortunately, Jack burst in through the door. He somehow found a locksmith, and with a click, he rushed in first thing. Before I could react, he pulled me into his arms, extremely nervous. Are you okay? He checked me over from head to toe as if I was some priceless treasure, while I was slightly stunned. Did he like me? Vincent finally realized that I was determined to divorce him. He slammed his hand hard on the table, shattering a glass, a piece of which grazed his ankle, blood gushing out. In the past, I would have rushed to help him, but today I simply ignored it. Vincent stared at me, his eyes bloodshot, and his expression somewhat dazed. Let's go. I grabbed Jack's wrist and said softly, there's no need to continue with this entanglement. Wait. Vincent hurriedly took a step forward, stepping on the broken glass shards. He hesitated. Shirley, I was wrong. I won't donate the kidney, okay? Vincent took a deep breath. I shouldn't have forced you to do such a thing. Your body should be your own decision. How ridiculous. Only now did he realize this, or did he actually know all along, but deliberately ignored it, using my love for him as leverage for Jasmine's sake. I closed my eyes and remained silent. Shirley, don't you want to have a child with me? Let's have one. Vincent's voice trembled slightly, as if making a final effort. Can we not get divorced? Let's have a child together, watch him grow up, and grow old together. Those were the things I used to cherish the most, but now that he said them to me, I found it ridiculous and even nauseating. Jack gently squeezed my wrist, as if giving me courage. So I turned my head and looked at him expressionlessly. It's too late. Vincent's expression seemed to shatter in an instant. He sat down weakly, and sat in the passenger seat, feeling a bit awkward. The seat belt wouldn't fasten. As Jack leaned in to help, I stopped him. I'll do it myself. With a click, I fastened the seatbelt myself. Jack had one hand on the steering wheel, the other awkwardly suspended, and joked, "You never give me a chance, do you?" Feeling uncomfortable, but being light-hearted by his joke, I said sincerely, "Thank you. No need to thank me." Jack pressed the gas pedal, continuing forward. "I just confessed to you. Don't you have any thoughts on that?" And just like that, I almost choked on the water in my mouth again. "It's okay. I'll wait for you if you're not ready," Jack said. "I know you haven't finished this marriage yet. Your mind hasn't adjusted, but I've waited for so many years. A little longer won't matter." Waited for so many years. What did he mean? Coming out of the court, uncle, auntie, and a frail Jasmine sitting in a wheelchair were waiting at the door. How did it go? Auntie was the first to approach. How was the property divided? Who gets the villa? What's it got to do with you? I retorted. Auntie pinched me, making me wince. She complained about how they had provided for me and cared for me, yet I showed no gratitude. She couldn't understand why I wouldn't share details of my divorce. Uncle pushed Jasmine closer and asked, "What are your plans now? Are you moving back?" "That's not happening," Auntie immediately objected, saying the house was too small for me. "Don't worry. I won't cause you any trouble," I replied, turning to leave. Feeling a flicker of family affection, I remembered how well Uncle had treated me before, even though Auntie was always a bit unreliable. Vincent, looking tired, emerged from the court. Reporters approached him, asking about Shirley's family's accusations of ingratitude and refusal to donate a kidney. Vincent and I exchanged glances from a distance, feeling a divide that seemed impossible to bridge. Jack's car was by my side, and he shielded me, telling the reporters to back off. I got in the car, and as I did, I saw Vincent nod. Even though I couldn't hear him, I knew what he said. It's true. Ignoring the situation, I chuckled and got out of the car. "What's wrong?" Jack asked. "I'm going to sue them," I replied, stepping out, calling out from behind, "Would you join me?" "Let's go." Jack closed the door and followed me. As Auntie and her family approached, I raised my voice. Uncle and Auntie adopted me under false pretenses, and took my compensation after my parents' accident. I'm going to sue them and get back what's mine. Will you stand by me? Jasmine passed away. The next day, Uncle and Auntie asked for a private settlement and offered me a small amount of money, contrasting the substantial compensation they took from me years ago. I declined their offer and chose to go through the legal process. Jasmine's funeral was modest due to the ongoing legal battles and Vincent's plummeting company stocks. My public lawsuit turned the tables, making Auntie and Uncle the villains in the public eye, shifting their image from ungrateful relatives to exploiters. I didn't attend Jasmine's funeral, but outside my new cafe, I ran into Vincent. His disheveled appearance reflected the toll of recent events. He grabbed my arm, whispering, "Shirley, how could you be so ruthless? Did you ever love me?" Under the moonlight, I saw a glimmer of hope in his eyes, but I had moved on. It's all in the past. I'm starting a new life. There's no turning back. On the day I got engaged to Jack, the security guard at the door reported that 2 beggars had shown up claiming to know me. They were dirty, smelly, and scruffy. I couldn't help but cover my nose, taking 2 steps back in my high heels. "Shirley, it's us. I'm your auntie," my aunt said, eagerly stepping forward. "Look at me, it's me. We're both starving. Do you have anything to eat? Don't forget the kindness we showed you when you were young." After the court ordered my uncle and aunt to return all the compensation to me, they sold their house and had no place to live. I heard they moved in with Vincent at first. Vincent was already overwhelmed, on the brink of bankruptcy. And when my aunt thought Vincent liked Jasmine, she acted recklessly, causing chaos at Vincent's home. He kicked them out with a grim expression, and that was the last time we heard from them. I never imagined they would end up like this. When my aunt reached out to pull me closer, I coldly pushed her away, saying, "You've got the wrong person." I held Jack's hand and ushered everyone inside, dismissing the 2 beggars as probably sick. Jack held my hand tighter and whispered, "Do you think I'm too heartless?" "I just think you were too weak before." Jack chuckled softly. "I used to like you, now I love you even more," he added, making me smile sweetly. "How happy you are." An old classmate approached, raising a glass of wine to touch mine. "Shirley, I owe you an apology. I was reckless when we were young. Remember that time I locked you in the gym? But don't worry, old Jack avenged you. He beat me up so bad, I couldn't leave my house for days, and my leg was lame for a whole month. I was stunned, gripping the wine glass tightly. You did what? I asked incredulously. You forgot. Jack touched his nose and said, wasn't my good deed worth it? I opened the gym door, intending to walk you home. I even searched for a bike, but before you came out, I bumped into this guy, who I then beat up. When I went back to get you, you were gone, and so was the bike. I guess you rode off on your own. I downed the wine in one gulp. I didn't tell him that on a gentle night, someone stole his love for me, and I held onto the wrong person's coat, blowing in the wrong wind for over a decade. No one dared to bully you after that, a female classmate chimed in. We all knew that messing with you meant getting beat up, so I had never gone unloved. In a place I never knew, at a time I never realized, someone had lovingly protected me for so many years. But luckily, in the end, I didn't miss out on him. I held Jack's hand tightly, interlocking our fingers. Thank you, I whispered. Jack blushed for once, gripping my hand tighter. Let's not dwell on the past, he said, waving it off. Then some classmates started teasing us about when we were going to have children. I felt a bit embarrassed. Jack lowered his head, leaned in close to my ear, and asked, how many do you want? I pursed my lips, gave him a stern look, and replied, you're enough. Jack's furry head rubbed against my shoulder, and he said softly, you have it all, it's all yours.